Republican House Minority Leader Blake Filippi joins me. He's a Republican representing Block Island and parts of South County. Minority Leader Filippi, nice to have you on again. You were on with me a couple of months ago. It's nice to have you back.
Happy to be here, Gene. Thank you.
All right, let's get right to it. We're just learning. The governor cut a sweet deal with the largest state workers union. $3,000 for vaccinated workers as an incentive. Even those who got vaccinated months ago, they can get the $3 grand. Is that out of line? Is that too rich for you?
I think it's out of line, but when you run the numbers, it's almost a punishment for those who haven't been vaccinated. The contract provides for a 2.5% increase in everyone's salary, and that's substantially below the current rate of inflation. That $3,000 extra per person brings the pay up probably to match what our current inflation is. So essentially, it's the punishment to those who haven't chosen to take a medical treatment. And so the question is, where does this stop? Are we going to pay people less because they're smokers or they're overweight?
Yep.
These decisions are between individuals and their doctors. People should be paid for their work, not for their private medical decisions. It's totally wrong. And it's just problematic. I don't think it's the role of government to be incentivizing or punishing those private medical decisions.
Okay.
I think it's insulting to the workforce of our state.
You're an attorney, so let's do this. Let's look at it in the most positive light for the governor. And you fill me in here. He's saying, well, look, I'm getting the deal done. I'm getting the contract. I'm giving them $3 grand. I'm getting them vaccinated. And I may lose more support than I gain with doing this because he's really getting hammered on talk radio and everywhere else. So go ahead. In light most favorable to the governor, you say what?
I mean, I think you just pictured it in the light most favorable to the governor. I mean, it's a light I disagree with. I think these are decisions that are made between an individual and their doctor, and the government shouldn't be forcing people through pay reductions to get it. People should be paid for their work, not for their private medical decisions. What comes next? I really question that.
All right, so
let's question what's going on here.
Let's get right to it. Let's go against him now. What's really at play here? Is he currying votes with 3,800 union members and their spouses and their mother and father and their brothers? I don't know. Add it up. It could help in a tight primary.
It may, but it really is a gimmick. 90% of our state is vaccinated. Why are we paying extra money to state workers because they've been vaccinated? What about the other people who are employed by the state who aren't part of this contract? Should they hold out for more money? Should they hold out for 10 grand a person? I don't know. I just think it's a bad policy. Once you start going down this road is what comes next. I personally don't want to fund other people's private medical decisions, and I don't think any other taxpayer does either.
All right. Listen, you're raising a red flag because, the whole other coalition of unions, they haven't even started negotiating yet. There's correctional officers and the rest of them. If they see $3,000 on the table, they're going to go for that and maybe more. And what about the ununionized workers? Sometimes the people in your office and the speaker's office, you go along with the rest of what everybody else is getting. What are you going to do if your workers come to you and say, I want the $3,000 too? Minority Leader Filippi?
I get it. I mean, you're highlighting the problems with this. I mean, it's going to keep going. It's going to keep falling up, and it's going to be about the vaccine. And then maybe next it's going to be about other private healthcare decisions. I mean, people who smoke have a much higher rate of risk than any one of us on average from COVID. If you catch COVID, your average person has a less than 1% chance of being admitted to the hospital. If you're a smoker, you have a much higher probability of having negative health outcomes because of that choice. Are we going to pay smokers less? Are we going to pay people who have a high body mass index less? What if we have a state worker right now who's the best state worker there is, but because of medical conditions cannot take this vaccine, we're paying them less than someone who might not be as good of a worker, but who has been vaccinated?
Listen,
it's just not fair.
You're leading me to another healthcare topic. You're really coming out against this merger, Lifespan Care New England. You're saying it's an inside deal. The fix is in, basically. It's all being doctored up, to use their term. Flesh that out for me. I've just about a minute and a half left. Go ahead, Speaker. Minority Leader Filippi, sorry.
That's a Freudian slip, Gene. I appreciate that. We have two major hospitals. We have several major hospital groups, but two major hospital groups, Care New England and Lifespan, are talking about merging right now. Care New England has been financially struggling. In 2019, one of the largest, best, well-funded hospital groups in the world, Partners Healthcare, was going to buy Care New England and inject some great competition to this state. Saudi princes fly to Partners Healthcare hospitals to get their annual checkups. Brigham and Women's, Mass General, some of the best hospitals in the world. They were going to come here and invest tens and tens of millions of dollars in buying and upgrading our Care New England facilities. Brown University and Lifespan went to Gina Raimondo and had her kill that deal. Lifespan doesn't want to compete with Partners, and Brown doesn't want to compete with Harvard University, which is a teaching hospital with Partners Healthcare. So they used the force of government to kill this deal, which the deal would have benefited us as healthcare consumers. Right. And now they're looking at merging these two entities and controlling 80% of healthcare delivery in our state. It's a veritable monopoly. It will lead to bad healthcare outcomes, more expensive healthcare treatments, and less benefits for workers. It will be a monopoly in this state.
So you're saying Big Money Brown, they're the marionette masters, and Lifespan, and everybody's tied to them. Okay, you know why I mentioned Speaker in that last thing? It's because we're just learning how former Speaker of the House, Mattiello, was signed on to be a lobbyist for Lifespan. I'll let you digest that. I'll have you on the radio to talk about that. Finally, are you going to run for governor? And I'm curious why your party hasn't put anybody forward with all the momentum going in Virginia and New Jersey. What's going on? Are you in or out, Blake?
And so, Gene, there's a lot of people who are looking at it, a lot of good people. There's going to be a decision made very soon. And when that decision's made, you will be one of the first people to know. We were disappointed when you said you weren't, because we heard that you were looking at it too.
Not taking a pay cut, and I don't know where that comes from, although I accept the flattery that people listening to my radio show think I should go into public service someday. Right now, I can't afford it.
I accept your flattery too, Gene, and public service, we all sacrifice.
All right. Thanks for coming on. And we'll have you on
anytime.
Again. We'll continue our conversation on the radio. House Minority Leader Blake Filippi, Republican.